for joining us on the program where a topic of national interest gets our attention. And we will begin by bringing you up to date with news that made headlines during the week. But first, welcome to the first new episode of Firecrackers in the year 2025. Looking forward to sharing great stories and analysis with you all in this beautiful year. So now, let us move on to the stories that made headlines earlier this week. It's a very interesting one because the Nigeria's Warri refinery resumed partial operation after revamp. This was said by Nlc'S while addressing his team at the plant. That's Nlc'S. He explained the importance of this development, and now this is the second refinery to begin production from the Nlc'S, and what we are all looking forward to the recovery or the revamp of the remaining two. Also, Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Kadoso, Friday disclosed that the early exit program was 100% voluntary exercise initiated by the staff of the Apex Bank. Also, the Nigerian Labour Congress insisted that the federal government withdraw the controversial tax bill from the National Assembly. In his New Year message to Nigerians, especially workers, the president of Nlc'S, Joe Ajaero, said the need to withdraw the bills was based on welfare of the Nigerian workers. And on to topics that get our attention today, Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State signed the state 1.1 trillion 2025 budget into law. In a speech after signing the budget into law Thursday, the governor appreciated the Victor Okujumbo-led State Assembly for doing a good job. And this happened amid criticism for the governor's decision to present the bill to just three-man panel. Also, President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday, that's New Year's Day, said that the year 2025 would bring brighter days for all Nigerians. The president, who said this in his New Year message to Nigerians, added that his government would fulfill the collective desires of Nigerians. Ladies and gentlemen, for our attention today, it is indeed my pleasure to welcome to today's episodes of Firecrackers. My name is Iribami Salako, and I have with me here in the studio Femi Onakore, a policy analyst. Thank you so much for being here with us in the studio. Also, we also have joining us virtually from Ibadan, Dr. Stephen Lafenwa. He's a senior lecturer at the Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us at this time.
Good evening, and thanks for having me.
Okay, so now let us first go on this break. We want to first start on the topic that's Nlc'S rejection of tax bill. So let us see this report on what it is all about. When we come back, we'll start discussions in the studio. Just stay with us. Have you back if you're just joining us. This is Firecrackers, and we want to talk about Nlc'S rejection of the tax bill. Nlc president, that's Joe Ajaero, made this declaration on the first day of 2025. That's on Wednesday. So now we're starting with my guest here in the studio. Let us even first of all look at how people are saying this. The Nlc are supposed to represent workers, and perhaps even a large portion of Nigerians who are also workers. If we look at how the federal government have painted this bill, is something that is supposed to curb multiple taxation. It's something that's supposed to be for the benefit of all Nigerians, especially state governors, state governments who are actually producing something that's supposed to generate a lot of revenue, even for Nigeria and for the state governors too. But now that we have the NLC saying that they should withdraw the bill for wider consultation, do you think that is actually in the best interest of the workers?
It's a very interesting the position that the NLC president took regarding the tax reform bill. I first must state that that particular bill is one of the most transformative developments from this administration. It's going under the radar because a lot of people are politicizing the issues around it. But the impact in terms of the economy, how the economy is going to benefit from it, the creation of jobs, reduce tax burden across different layers of people, makes it a very laudable project to pursue, which makes the position of the NLC president a bit interesting. One tends to look at it it's a deeper light. One of the first things that we need to establish, and it's a misnomer that we've encouraged over time, is that the NLC is not a social activist group. It's a union of workers to serve workers' interests. It is not a socio-political arm for workers to actually express, whatever grievances they may have with their employers or with the government. it's the union really carries the mandate of the union. So his position in talking about collaborating with stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders in the tax structure? Right, there's the taxman, right, who's going to tax, and there's different companies, individuals who work. Are we going to get every individual to give us a voice? That's why they have elected representatives, as it were, at the upper and lower chambers. So the job has already been given to the people who should appropriate it. After reading what the tax reform bill, the proposal by Mr. Oyedele is, then the job has already been done. The National Assembly presents what they feel is good or bad. They then assess it and give us a passing, as it were, for the bill. But the NLC's position, it is very fuzzy. It's neither here nor there. I read the interview that he gave, right, and some of it just sounded like a bit of rhetoric to me, if I may say. And that's because he never really said there was a particular thing wrong with the bill, as it were. Every time that Mr. Oyedele has come out, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele has come out about that bill, he has tried to explain the benefits that come with the passing of the bill. I mean, reduced VAT, right? Removal of VAT, as in some cases, reduction of tax burden for particular income position, reduction of corporate tax, right, from 30% to 25%, which of course means that the bottom line for companies increases, right? And it means I have more money, I can do expansion, I can recruit more people to, stuff like that. He talks about particular points. At no point thus far, as Mr. Ajero, any representative of the NLC, said, this is what is wrong, with this bill, or that is what is wrong with this bill. There was a bit of an uproar a while back when some elements tried to make this a political issue that is going to affect some states and they're going to take money from here or there. Essentially, it has been debunked, because what it actually does is the states who may not be manufacturing it, right, or in whose portfolio citizens and custom to buy consumption trends, they tend to not have a larger share than what they were having before, which creates a more equitable distribution of the wealth. So if a lot more people are using your stuff in, say, or your state or in Ogun State, then because you're getting patronage from that, and there's government tax, you should get benefits from that. I mean, it's talked about the harmonization of the different, state issues in terms of tax and reduction of different lines, multiple lines of taxation. In my opinion, he's gone quite the length in presenting, the value that the bill is bringing. Right now, if NLC or Mr. Ajero have objections, I believe that the right approach would not be to say, let's forget about this and all that's been done thus far, and let us call for a fresh reevaluation. I mean, tax is not layman territory; it's a technical area. So I don't know what stakeholder input. After we already have also representatives, we have legal representation, right? That's supposed to review, and I don't see what the NLC's position in terms of withdrawing the bill to achieve what purpose. Stakeholder inclusion. Who are the stakeholders? What are they bringing to the table? What are the issues? Before coming up with that particular bill, Mr. Oyedele's team actually walked through a long, a process of engagement at different levels. And I was part of, one of those focus groups. So I know the work that has gone into, getting the bill to this position, and all the cleanup and the back and forth before it got to this. There has been time throughout the entire process for stakeholders to be involved, for people to be involved. So if the NLC felt, I have something to say, and it never got involved, and then the bill has come to this point, and you're not even allowing your legislature to actually do their job, you say they should just withdraw everything and start all over again. A waste of time, a waste of resources. I mean, it's national resource we're talking about here. I really don't get it. It's just another, in my opinion, politicization of what is really, not connected at all. It's a seeking of relevance, as it were, as a chokehold, and playing the victim to actually victimize the people. Because, like I said, I didn't read or see anything that said there about this is what is wrong with the bill. This is why it should be withdrawn. His point is bad. let them amend it. Nothing like that was stated. So I
Okay,
don't see
all
the
right.
basis.
But do you feel like the NLCs that might be coming from a fear of change? Because it's not just in Nigeria, it's all over the world. People usually have this fear that comes with change. And the way some people have painted this bill to be, the side that we have experts coming up to say that, okay, it is not so. This is supposed to be for benefits of states, the federal government, and even the whole of Nigeria, even the regional government too. But we have states that who are worried that if this thing, even if they still want to reflect on themselves and look for ways of generating internal revenue, it might still take a while. And we know that some states recently just increased the salary of workers, even some beating the one that the federal government is wanting to pay. So do you feel like perhaps this fear too is coming from that before the state governors get their acts in order, they might suffer? Workers in the state might actually suffer for a while.
Okay, so that brings us to a different conversation, and that's why I said this is a bit of a politicization of the issues. Where has the NLC been thus far prior to this period in terms of welfare of workers, in terms of holding government accountable at different state levels? Now, remember, like I said, it's not an activist group, but they want to place social activism. That's fine. Then play it properly. If you're a social activist, if you go to a state that the roads are bad, right, it's workers that's using it. You picket the House of Assembly and say, look, this is what we want. And that's for the benefit of the workers. NLC more often than not comes up when it's regarding issues of salary, and maybe the populist opinions like for price increase. Aside from those things, we don't see their engagement in social issues.
Or for electricity.
Yes, we don't see them engagement in social issues. So they only seem to come up when it's how do I put it? It's a national topic that has the potential to snowball into something big and with some political undertone. And I think that's mischievous. It's a misrepresentation of the workers, as it were. Everyone knows that change is inevitable, and it's quite human nature to also be afraid of change. Not a problem. The problem in this scenario is you have to confront reality. And in confronting reality, you have to accept reality. And what's reality telling you? Some states are insolvent. They're insolvent because for some of them, the burden of maintaining the expenditure on their civil service is heavy. What is the civil service producing? What's the value? What's the productivity angle? How is it improving? Is it efficient? Are they just collecting salary? If you go to that area now, then you have a problem, because then NLC will picket you for trying to, right size, the administration and your expenditure. So it really becomes a political play. I don't want to rock the boat until I serve my time and move on, so everybody can know those things. Some states need to face the fact that they're insolvent. They can't go as going concern. To continue, they may have to borrow, right? And then they will have to come up with creative ways to settle both their obligations, right, and meet up. And if they see that, look, I could have comparative advantage with this, it is painful. The whole process is painful, right? But it is needed for growth. We can't say, let us continue in a way that is inefficient, that is wasteful, that is quite frankly unproductive, just because we say it's going to be, uncomfortable. Like you said, you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, now let us ask our guest that's joining us live from Ibadan. That's Dr. Steve Lafenwa. Would you like to share some of your thoughts with us on this contentious tax reform bills? Also, as regards to Nigeria probably being on the path of practicing true federalism.
Yeah, the main problem that NLC'S is not about tax reform. The main problem has to do with the lack of confidence and trust in government policy. Before now, government has introduced, so many policies. One of them is removal of state subsidy. And what they promised Nigerians, including Nigerian workers, was not what we are witnessing now. Two, the floating of naira so as to measure other currencies in the world. We all know the consequences. So now that the tax reform has come, the best way to get government attention is to say, oh, we don't support you. If they support federal government, federal government will not even, they will not even listen to them. Now they are not, in support. They are this is providing an avenue for them to discuss further. Another issue has to do with the increment, the salary wage, the minimum wage increase. Before now, federal government has increased the minimum wage to 70,000 naira. The issue of reform didn't come up, and you know that when they finished with their negotiation on the 70,000 naira, it was when the fuel pump price, of fuel, gone up. And that is to say that if this policy will still come from the same government, NLC and other Nigerians have that right, to doubt whatever government is going to do with the bill. But I'm not saying NLC by saying, oh, let us throw the baby with the bathwater. No. As the analysts in the studio have said, they're supposed to come up with a position paper. Oh, as far as Nigerian workers are concerned, who are their members? And they're supposed to promote the interests of their members. What are those things, critical areas, gray areas, that they think will bring untold hardship to Nigerian workers? What are we paying as tax before, and what is this one, suggesting? So everybody will be able to see it, and will go along with the NLC. But if they don't have any reason why they said they should not, they should not go on with the tax reform, whatever they did, or the process of passing the bill, I don't think that is okay, because the reason why we have pressure group like NLC is to sensitize, to raise the consciousness of their members about the problem affecting them. Not that they will condemn, a policy that we don't even know yet whether it's going to bring us into that Eldorado, or we are still going to go backward. I think the stage they have now is at the stage of debating, talking, submitting your own your position papers or whatever input that you have, so that they can improve this bill. But like condemning it, like one of the senators, Dume condemn it without even reading it. They did the same thing, because I've not seen anything that NLC has pointed out, the leadership of NLC has pointed out as wrong with the deal. Only that as the analyst that has already said, they politicize it. They want to draw attention of federal government to other areas, because NLC has been complaining that federal government shortchanged them after the negotiation, because one of the conditions for accepting 70,000 naira is that there will not be any increase in the pump price of fuel. But now that what we have now, though there is slight decrease in the pump price, but it doesn't make any sense. 30,000 naira in 2023 before May 29, 2023 is far better than 70,000 naira in 2025. So what NLC should do is to, let us highlight the advantages, identify disadvantages, and the likely consequences, negative consequences that the bill will have on its member if it is passed. The bill is not yet passed, but I will also implore federal government. Even governors are not, they are not in agreement with the federal government. They said, let there be more consultation. And what we are waiting for now is for federal government to sensitize Nigeria. If this bill is for us, let us see how it benefits us. Because let me point out one of those things that I've already discovered in the bill. They say, for those workers who are earning 800,000 naira per annum, there will be 0% tax. Now 70% minimum wage multiplied by 12 months, that is 840. That means those workers who are supposed to benefit from this bill, they may feel that, if care is not taken, we may pay more, than what we are paying before. because what we are paying now is what we call pay as you earn. But if the bill is passed, they may be shortchanged, and that's why maybe they are raising the issue of don't go with that the bill. But I will not support that. Let them suggest to government. The reason why pressure group is there is to advance the interest of its member and also advance the interest of non-member, because we are all living in this society. It may there may be some other areas that they are going to benefit with the issue of VAT. That they are not going to be that will not raise more revenue for the state. That may be a avenue to negotiate with the state governors that for increase in salary. But if they don't continue to say, even for now, states have not even started, they have started paying a minimum wage. In fact, in your state where I am, the governor said it will start in this month. So what are we talking about? And we don't know whether that is sustainable. And as the analyst has already said, most of these states are insolvent. For example, Zamfara and the rest. How much are they generating internally that will support them? And that's why one of the reasons why people don't even care about what local government wants to do in their state, because they don't what rates are they paying, what fees are they paying, what development levels are they paying. The only thing that everything is free. And if we want to stop borrowing in Nigeria, if we don't want to mortgage our future now, let us see to this whatever the tax reform deal. Most of developed countries that we have today that are enjoying dividends of democracy, they are paying tax. You cannot just go to Europe and begin to waste water anyhow. You cannot go to Europe and say, oh, everything is free. No, we have to look at it. What are those rules? What are those things that we need to look at with second eye, so that it will assist the government in in this tax reform or whatever. And let me say this: they may also have this that our National Assembly members. Majority of them are already in support of Mr. President. There is this what we call this proper stand syndrome. Whatever the government brings, we are going to approve it, and we are going to pass. And we know that if it does not have that, if that relationship does not have basis in the constitution, it's not going to pay the people. Maybe that is making that suspicion in the leadership of Nlc. But they should not just totally condemn the deal. The deal has its own merit. Let us look at it. Let us look at some of those areas that need to be addressed, the gray areas, and let them explain. In the land that the NLC leaders we understand. Some of us are, we already have that kind of understanding that if government has that, demonstrate that political will to implement what is on ground now, the draft reform, whatever, we are going to benefit from it. State will get more money, but how are we going to make state governors, state actors more accountable to the people? Because now that they remove the stress subsidy, more money have gone to state. What do we see now? Some cannot even pay 70,000 naira. So that is why people are raising that down, including the NLC leadership. That if you allow this man to go with another policy, to develop this policy, we may be worse off. But I will want to assure them that the best way to go about it is that look at it critically. If you don't have knowledge of tax, get professional expertise that will give you advice on what to do and what to table before government. It's not because I don't want to degenerate the situation whereby government is continuing with the process and you are not calling your members to come and demonstrate or to go on strike. That would be unnecessary, and we should just drum it in their ears that it is not necessary. Dialogue, public discourse, negotiation, that will go a long way of benefiting your members than actually disagreeing with the federal government on the platform day.
Okay, all right. We thank you so much for that beautiful insight, Dr. Lafewa. So, I'll come back. Let us just use this to round up this particular topic, so that we'll move on to the next one. It seems that the NLC might probably be right, that they feel like they might once again be tutored by the federal government, because this is not the first time things like this have been happening when it comes to promise for payment and other things like that. So do you think that that fear of being probably once again cheated by the federal government is enough to drive this call for withdrawal of the tax reform bill?
I find that position disingenuous if that's the position that the NLC is taking as it were. And I'll give you my reason for finding it disingenuous. Although the conversation that people refer to two policies, principal policies. We had the subsidy removal policy, right, and then we had the second policy, which is the harmonization, and regularization of the Nigerian, foreign exchange rates. Now, what's the issue with those things, and what did people say about them that created such a furor? I'll tell you. Number one, it was politicized. First, all the candidates leading to said almost the same thing in terms of economic reforms, which regard to this. In fact, some have gone on record as saying immediately, which is exactly what President Tinubu did. Him doing it at that particular time, I feel in retrospect, was his masterstroke, because any delay in time before implementing that would also have been an indictment on a campaign promise and can also be used politically, right, to wage war. Now, the other part that he said regarding the implementation, that there's mistrust, I find that very disingenuous, and I think it's the same politicization of issue that's playing out. If we remove fuel subsidy, naturally it means prices will go up. I do not imagine any scenario that a subsidy is removed and the price will stay the same. So I don't know what people were thinking about or what they think would happen when subsidy is removed. Prices would naturally go up. That's the first thing that happens before market stabilizes itself. And that's what we're seeing now. Thankfully, Dangote is on stream, Warri is on stream now, PH is on stream. So we have had to reduce some of the critical issues that added layers to the subsidy, like logistics costs, for example. So if we have a bit more local, supply, we reduce issues like, inadequate supply around. Supply in the scale, right? If you have a lot of supply, prices will go down. It's part of market dynamics. So ultimately, it should actually favor, since we have a large population, and we have large consumption for it. So I think it makes sense too. It reduces waste. So a lot of people, because fuel is cheap here, and some people travel around the world, it's cheap here. They maintain 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, they burn fuel here, there. We've reduced our fossil emission as well, carbon emission as a country. In this period, if it's measured, right, we've reduced it. So there's been multiple direct and indirect gains to it. The angle of the increased allocation to governors has always been an issue, and it was one of the things that played out in the fluctuations of the effects after the removal of the harmonization. It was discovered that coincidentally, after every federal FAC meeting and allocations are given, demand for the USD goes up, and then the coincidence was striking that it was believed that governors mopped this up, and we get monies from the federal government, converted to dollars, increase dollar demand, and the dollar rate goes up. I know we're fixing that now. We don't have that. In the last couple of months, we've had a relatively stable FX rate. So I don't know what they mean by they are afraid of the implementation. I've not seen how the ball has been dropped in terms of implementation. Some parts of growth will be painful. It's what we should all know, and we should be adults about it. If really we want the country to progress, some part of growth is painful. I've not seen any deviation in terms of expectation thus far. In fact, World Bank projections for the country is always getting better. Independent economic projections for the country is always getting better. We hear from investors here and there, and it's getting better. There's a lot more confidence in, okay, this is the direction these guys are going in. So I don't see what is a reference in that sense. Now, having used that as the backdrop, we come back to the tax reform, but they've articulated what they wanted to do. Like I said, there are several workshops, several focus groups. They did a whole lot of stuff leading to the presentation. Very few people were invested. But when it became a political tool, when someone was brought up the VAT thing and said, oh, it means they're going to deny you income here, and then that's when a lot of people now jumped in and entered. These chaps have been engaging. Mr. Taiwo Yedele is probably, if we're going to talk about like the first 10 people that this administration, recruited, that would be Mr. Taiwo Yedele. I'm not holding brief for him. So you can imagine the time he has spent on the project, him and his team, spent on the project this long and engage the public this long. If you go to his LinkedIn page, he's always talking. He's always trying to engage people. He's always trying to say something. If there is any dispute, you tag him along, any misunderstanding. So I don't see how there's a misrepresentation unless there's political mischief involved. And political mischief is a game of power. It does not serve the interests of the people. What it usually does, it will leverage on the weaknesses of the people. It will exploit your situation, right, as the citizens, and then it will call like I'm fighting for you, but in reality I'm fighting for myself, because I have not seen a presentation either from the NLC or from even the governors who are posted on this, and these are the salient points that have not been cleared by experts, right? There's a reason we call people experts. There's a field of study. You cannot understand it with a layman's knowledge or a passive knowledge, or because you just Google one or two things and then, okay, you feel like I know what's going on. The concern for all of us as Nigerians, in my opinion, right now is we need to be focused on what we really want. And if what wants a good country, we hold the presidency, we hold the legislature accountable, we hold the judiciary accountable. But we must focus on objective truth, right? This is what you said you're going to do about it. So let us have, what metrics should we measure you by? Be fantastic. I would like to evaluate, okay, so this is what you're promising, this is fine. Can we have a list of milestones that we are going to cross off that we can hold you accountable to? That's inclusive government. That
has not always been working in Nigeria.
It's not the working, it's the inclusion that first starts. You get the conversation started, there may be disagreement, but then it will even out if you're facing objective truth. Unfortunately, we've politicized everything, and who benefits? The politicians. It's not the technical, it's not the citizens. Who gets the power? Who gets, to make the rules? That's what people are now, but this is how they get us. It's by manipulating things that could be of benefit, but they think that they can swing it in another way and politicize, and they get us to start thinking the wrong way. I don't think workers will be opposed to knowing that their pay has been removed for a particular income level and reduced across. I don't think any company would be offended that they're reducing corporate tax from 30% to 25%. There's a waiver on VAT on a whole lot of products, and consumables. So where is the issue? It's actually supposed to help stimulate, because you have extra, you're not paying tax, you have extra, invest in the businesses and the sectors, and help the economy grow. I'm yet to see the downside pointed out, and the times of mistrust that's just political mischief. Mistrust is sentiment. If we're talking holistically in terms of what's there and what expectations are, from fuel subsidy to FX harmonization, it's pretty straightforward. You judge based on the metrics.
Well, if mistrust were to be a political issue, then I'm guessing there would not be need for contracts anywhere in the world. Would you not think that, okay, it is normal that humans generally don't trust each other, and to make sure that their own interest is protected, then perhaps they just come up, okay, let us probably sign this agreement that in case you are unable to meet up with your side of demand, and this is penalty for you, and if I'm unable to meet up with my side, then this is penalty for you.
We already have that. We have a social contract with our leaders. If the guy does not perform, you have the powers to recall from the office. You can move. If it's up to the president, you can move for an impeachment through your constituency. Nobody wants to put in that effort. We just know we want it to happen by magic. How? By fiat. That's why there was a term that they used to use a while back, political gangsters. That's how they became political gangsters. They can exploit the weaknesses in our limited knowledge of how the process works. So they make you say, oh, you really don't have anything you can contribute. But the same guy that says, I'm not listening to you, come back to beg you in 4 years' time. At some point you would realize that if I weren't so useful, you wouldn't be coming to me every 4 years, right, to seek my vote. So the political mischief angle is the problem we have in solving a number of our issues as a nation.
Okay, all right. So I would like you to order for so that we would go to the next topic that we have available to us right now.